Many people believe ancient humans were less advanced than us, but what if I told you some of their inventions are still confusing modern scientists? Like a giant dragon jar that could detect earthquakes thousands of years ago, or an elephant-shaped clock that knew how to tell time in the most unexpected way. And then there are strange alien-looking discs that no one can explain even today. These aren't myths. They're real, ancient technologies that still leave experts scratching their heads. And if you stay till the end, you'll discover the story of the first compass in history. Dragon jar that detected earthquakes. Long ago in ancient China, natural disasters were terrifying mysteries. Earthquakes would shake the ground without warning, leaving people scared and helpless. But in the year 132 AD, a brilliant inventor named Zhang Hong came up with something truly surprising. He created a large jar covered in dragons, each facing a different direction. It was a clever tool to detect earthquakes. And the ground started to shake, a ball would drop from the mouth of the dragon, pointing toward the quake's direction. The court would immediately know where trouble was coming from, even before any messenger arrived. Many stories say this jar really worked. One tale from the Han Dynasty says that after Zhang Heng passed away, a dragon on the jar dropped its ball. Days later, writers came to report an earthquake exactly from the direction the dragon had pointed to. Modern scientists have tried to recreate this earthquake detector, but it's tricky. Zhang left behind descriptions, but not enough detail to fully understand how the inside worked. Still, if his invention was as accurate as people say, then Zhang Heng was far ahead of his time, building a machine that could sense the Earth's movements without any modern tools. Elephant clock mystery? This is not your regular clock story. This is about an ancient invention by a genius named Al-Jazari. And it wasn't just a clock, it was an entire show. Imagine a water-powered machine with a sitting elephant, moving serpents, falling steel balls, and hidden gears all working together to tell the time. It was so complex that most people couldn't even understand how it worked. But the amazing part? It could track not just hours, but even adjust to days that weren't the same length. That kind of thinking was way ahead of its time. What makes it even stranger is how extreme it all was just to tell time. This clock didn't just do its job, it made a statement. People were so impressed that they built replicas in modern times just to admire its brilliance. But deep down, many still wonder, was it genius or just too much? Maybe that's what makes it unforgettable, a symbol of how humans always go beyond limits, even when they don't have to. Alien discs that fooled the world. This next mystery starts with a wild twist. A set of strange stone discs were said to be found in ancient Chinese tombs dating back 12,000 years. These discs, called the Dropa stones, were covered in tiny markings that some claimed told the story of aliens who crash-landed on Earth. People said these stones were proof of contact with beings from another world. For years, the story spread across the internet like wildfire. But here's the strange part. It was all made up. Experts couldn't trace who really discovered these stones, and no one could even prove they ever existed. Some believe it was all just a clever hoax. If a kid made up this story at home, most people would laugh it off. Yet somehow, this tale ended up in documentaries, books, and even here on YouTube. Funny how the most unbelievable stories sometimes grab the biggest spotlight. Colorchanging Roman cup. This ancient cup looks like pure magic. It's called the Lycurgus cup, and it's over 1,600 years old. At first glance, it just looks like a beautiful piece of Roman art. But when light hits it just right, the entire color of the glass changes like a chameleon. It turns from green to red, and no one in modern science can fully explain how. It's the only cup like this in the whole world, and it's not just about beauty. The technology behind it is way ahead of its time. Here's where it gets even more mind-blowing. The glass was mixed with tiny traces of gold and silver, which somehow caused this magical effect. But here's the catch. No one really knows how the Romans did it. The exact recipe, the measurements, the process, it's all still a mystery. Some even think the Romans didn't realize how incredible their creation was. They may have made one of the greatest accidental inventions in history. Mystery lens from the past. This story starts with something strange. A lens from 750 BC, yes, over 2,700 years ago, someone crafted a perfect curved piece of crystal, now known as the Nimrud lens. Some experts think it was used to start fires or maybe even magnify things like a modern-day magnifying glass. But here's the twist. No one actually knows for sure. How did someone from that time even think of making a lens like this? And more importantly, how did they shape it so precisely? What's even crazier is that this lens was found in ancient Assyria, in a place where such technology was completely unheard of. It opens up a flood of questions. Were they smarter than we think? Or did they have help from knowledge we've lost? One thing is clear, we're just getting started with the strange and unexplained tools from ancient times. Mysterious disc from ancient Greece. Let's go back in time to an island called Crete, where something strange was dug up, a round clay disc covered in tiny symbols that look like pictures. This strange object is called the Phaistos disc. It looks almost like a message from another world. There are exactly 45 different symbols repeated across 241 signs, and experts think it might be some kind of code. But here's the strange part. No one knows what it says. Not even the best language experts can read it. Even though it's still a mystery, people haven't given up. Historians and codebreakers from all over the world are still trying to understand who made it, what it says, or why it was made. Some think it's a religious message. Others say it could be the world's first printed document, but so far it remains one of the biggest puzzles from ancient Greece. A silent disc that refuses to speak. Here's mysterious steam machine. This strange spinning machine shocked everyone who saw it. In ancient Greece, a clever man named Hero of Alexandria built something that looked like magic. It was called the Aeolipile, or the hero's engine. When water inside it was heated, steam came out and made the top spin fast. Like the first steam turbine in history. This was thousands of years before real engines were ever used, and yet Hero had already made something that worked on the same idea. But here's the mystery. No one knows why he built it. It didn't power anything useful, and there's no sign it was used in daily life, so people wonder, was Hero just showing off his genius, or did he dream of something much bigger but never got the chance? Some even think ancient tech like this was far ahead of its time, and that thought gives chills. The ancient Egyptians were not just great rulers, they were brilliant engineers too. From farming in the desert to managing the fierce heat, they used the Nile River like a lifeline. They built clever irrigation systems to water their crops and keep their people alive. But that's just the beginning. What really grabs attention are their massive stone creations that still stand tall today, especially the pyramids of Giza and the Sphinx. These are not just tourist attractions, they're puzzles from the past. Now here's where it gets wild. These pyramids were built with stones brought from faraway parts of Africa. Some researchers believe the Egyptians used water canals to float the stones closer, then carved and stacked them with insane accuracy. They didn't have cranes or machines, yet every block is placed with mind-blowing perfection. Even today, nobody fully understands how they did it. Some say they use ramps, but how everything lines up so perfectly, that's still a mystery. The more you look into it, the more the ancient Egyptians seem like they knew something the rest of us don't. Mystery of the Roman Docahedron. This strange object has confused scientists for years. At different ancient Roman sites, archaeologists keep finding a 12-sided metal thing with no writing, no numbers, and no clear purpose. It's called a Roman dodecahedron. Some are big, some small, but all are made so strong that they've survived for centuries without much damage. They're not tools, they're not toys, and they're definitely not dice. So what are they? Richard Parker and his team from the Norton Disney Archaeological Group recently found one buried deep underground. But even after all this time and with all our modern tech, nobody knows what these things were actually used for. There are no answers in history books, no Roman text explaining them, just this strange mystery that's been passed through the ages, completely unsolved. Lost Metal of Warriors. This sword metal was once feared on the battlefield. Damascus steel was no ordinary metal. It was forged using a secret method that made swords super strong. They could slice through armor, stay sharp for years, and never break during war. Warriors trusted this steel with their lives because it was that reliable. But here's the twist. By the 1800s, the original way of making Damascus steel was lost. Blacksmiths today have tried to bring it back, but none have matched the power of the original. Modern versions might look the same, but they don't hold the same strength as the steel used in ancient times. It's one of history's toughest secrets. Rustproof Mystery in India. This giant iron pillar in Delhi has shocked scientists for years. It's over 7 meters tall and was built way back in the year 415. That's more than 1,600 years ago, and yet it hasn't rusted at all. Just think about that. Most iron starts rusting after just a few rainy seasons, but this thing has stood strong for centuries under the open sky. Experts have studied it deeply, and here's the crazy part. The people who built it mixed the iron with special materials that somehow stopped rust from ever forming. Even with modern technology, we can't fully copy that ancient trick. How did they know this secret back then? Was it lost knowledge or something else? Mystery of the Aztec calendar. The Aztecs created something way ahead of their time. A calendar so detailed, it shocked even modern historians. They tracked the year with 365 days, just like we do today. But here's the wild part. They also built a second cycle made just for their religious rituals. This shows how deeply they blended science and spirituality, using time not just to follow seasons, but to guide their sacred ceremonies too. But here's where it gets even stranger. While we think of a century as 100 years, the Aztecs only counted 52 years as a full century. Why? Nobody really knows. Maybe they believed life resets every 52 years, or maybe 100 just felt too long. Whatever their reason, the Aztec calendar still leaves experts scratching their heads to this day. Water clock of the pharaohs. Back in ancient Egypt, people didn't use clocks like we do today. They used water. Yes, water was their timekeeper. The Egyptians built something called a water clock around 3,500 years ago. It worked by letting water drip slowly from one container into another. As the water level rose, it showed how much time had passed. They carefully measured the speed of the water flow to stay on track. It wasn't perfect, but for them, it was a clever way to count hours without sunlight. But there was a catch. These water clocks had to be refilled again and again. Every time the top container emptied, someone had to start over. Even though it was tricky to manage, it still helped people keep track of time for things like religious events and daily routines. Today, it's hard to imagine living by a dripping pot, but for ancient Egyptians, that slow stream of water was the heartbeat of their day. Flying palaces of the gods. Something strange was written thousands of years ago in India. Ancient texts talk about a flying machine called the Vimana. These weren't just normal vehicles, they were flying palaces used by gods. Some stories say they moved on their own without any help. They flew fast across the sky like modern aircraft, even though they were written about long before planes were ever imagined. But here's where things get even more mysterious. The Vimana isn't just a part of old stories. It's been shown in ancient artwork and mentioned in many epics. So the question is, where did this idea come from? Why were ancient people so sure about flying machines if they never saw one? Maybe someone, somewhere knew more than we think. Mystery of the perfect stone balls. In the quiet lands of Costa Rica, a strange discovery has left scientists scratching their heads. Hidden in the jungle and fields are over 300 massive stone balls, and no one knows why they're there. Some are small, just a few centimeters, while others are more than 6 meters wide. What shocks everyone is how perfectly round they are. These weren't natural. Someone long ago carved them with great care, but for what reason? That's the mystery. Many believe an ancient tribe created them, but their purpose died with them. Some think the spheres could represent planets or different phases of the sun and moon, like rising suns or half moons. Since many old cultures worship the stars, maybe these stones were their way of connecting with the sky. But there's no writing, no signs, no clues, just silent, perfect stone balls scattered across Costa Rica. Like the weapon that burned on water? The ancient Greeks were known for powerful warriors like the Spartans, but their sea battles were on another level. One of their most feared weapons was something called Greek fire. It didn't just set ships on fire, it burned on water. That's right, even if enemy boats tried to escape across the sea, the fire followed them. Imagine being stuck on a wooden ship while flames chased you over the waves. And this wasn't some legend like the Archimedes death ray. Greek fire was real, and it terrified everyone who faced it. But here's the crazy part. This weapon wasn't even used by the ancient Greeks, but by the Byzantine Empire later on. They kept its recipe a closely guarded secret. They used it in handheld grenades and even had flamethrowers that shot the fire through metal tubes. No one else could ever recreate it, no matter how hard they tried. It was like a science lost to time. To this day, historians still don't know exactly what Greek fire was made of. Some secrets, it seems, are meant to stay hidden forever. Ancient battery mystery. This story starts with a strange clay pot found in Iraq in 1936, but this wasn't just any pot. It had a copper cylinder inside and an iron rod right in the center. People later call it the Baghdad battery because when you pour certain liquids into it, it creates a small electric charge. And it wasn't just one. 3 of these mysterious devices were found. Scientists still wonder, how did people from ancient times create something so close to a modern battery long before electricity was even discovered? Years later, the Mythbusters team recreated these ancient devices and got shocking results. The battery worked. It could be used for electroplating metals, giving tiny electric shocks for pain relief, and maybe even in religious rituals. But the real mystery isn't just how it works, it's why they made it. What were the people of ancient Iraq really doing with this tech? That's the question experts are still trying to figure out. Ancient Greek computer found underwater. It was just an old shipwreck off the coast of Greece, until divers found something that changed everything. Hidden under the sea since 1901, they pulled out a rusty object that didn't look special, until scientists realized what it was. This wasn't some random artifact, it was the Antikythera mechanism, a mysterious ancient machine that works like a computer, but not the kind with screens and keyboards. Made with gears and dials, this device was built between 87 BC and 205 BC, and it could do things like track the sun, moon, and even predict eclipses. You'd turn the gears, add dates or locations, and it would give you answers. Like a calculator made from metal, running on pure genius. What really blows people's minds is how advanced it was. This strange device even used something called the metonic cycle, a deep lunar solar pattern to give super accurate results. Some researchers say it could even tell the date of the next Olympic Games. But here's the shocking part. Modern scientists have struggled to fully recreate it, even with today's tools. That's why people still ask, how did ancient Greeks build something so smart so long ago? It's not just a mystery, it's a puzzle that makes you question everything we thought we knew about history. First compass mystery. Long before GPS and maps, people had no idea which way to go in the wild. That's where the compass came in. But here's the strange part. The very first compass wasn't even made to find directions. It was invented during the Han Dynasty in China around 206 BC. But instead of guiding travelers, people used it for spiritual things, like finding lucky spots or answers from the universe. It took over 1,000 years before someone thought, hey, this could help us not get lost. That moment came during the Song Dynasty in the 11th century. Only then did they finally use the compass to point the way, not just to fortune, but to actual north. History is full of secrets, and these ancient inventions prove it. If you enjoyed the mysteries we uncovered today, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more mind-blowing discoveries.